Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful helping of pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge. Now, Locke, I know we were having a conversation about this just before we started the podcast.
Right.
And I thought it was absolutely hilarious and it would make for a great topic. It's one where we talk about these moments where we may have, overdone it with certain substances, I suppose. Right? Smoking a bit too much of the old leaf or
right.
or anything else. So
Medical,
yeah, of course. Yes. I was wondering if you could regale a tale of maybe your adventures from your younger days, meaning this past weekend.
yeah. Basically, it's just the craziest thing. I haven't had an experience like that ever. I just had this moment, like, the night kind of, like, shifted in mood. Like, everybody's having a great time and whatnot. And I don't know if it was just the moods have shifted and that kind of made the vibe just turn in my head. Like, I couldn't quite process what was going on. So, a buddy of ours, he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, man, can we talk for a moment?" Being how I am, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So we go down, we're hanging out on a boat together. He starts to talking, and I black out. I don't remember what he was talking about. If he even said anything. I just lost it, and I paused for a moment. I said, I am having an existential moment. He's, why? What's going on? I'm like, I feel like, and I started talking like really slow, just like kept pausing every so often. I feel like time is freezing. Like I'm talking really slow and seems like he's really interested. And I felt like I broke a barrier. Like I felt like I broke the NPC and they realized that I knew I was in a simulation. So he's staring at me. He's really invested in what I'm going to say next.
Because, I mean, this is a total breakthrough at this moment, right? Like, no one has ever broken through or figured out, that this is a simulation.
I'm staring at this light in the background, and I'm like, is that the window of which they're looking at me through right now?
So now it's intriguing, yeah?
And then he's...
For these overlords.
Right. And then he looks at me and he goes, "What are you afraid of?" And I'm still staring at the light. To which he goes, "What are you afraid of?" And it hits me. What am I afraid of? Death, I respond. And I don't remember what else came from that conversation, but I was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. I gotta break out of here.
Oh, man.
What better way
hilarious.
is to go to bed and maybe take off this virtual headset that's on my head right now? So I go to bed. I still feel like I'm even having a moment where I'm like, maybe I'm reliving something biblical right now, right? Like like Jesus has lived this. That's the devil sitting outside right now. He's trying to coax me into bad stuff.
Oh, man.
So I really feel bad. I was like, he really wanted to talk to me about something, and I lost it.
Oh, man. I don't know if I've ever done that where I've just actually walked away. Now, I know there have been times where I felt like maybe that would be for the best, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so I could try and find some semblance of peace in my mind. But I don't know if I've ever like followed through with it and be like, I'm out of here. Like I gotta go right now. Um, now there has been a point where I've overdone it. I remember I was smoking with my cousin, and it had been a while for me. So I hadn't been smoking for a long time, and I think he packed a bowl or something, and so we went at it, went back and forth, and I got to a point where I was like I should stop, and he's like, hey, do you want to finish this? And I was like, okay. So I went for it, and after I did it, he started talking to me like he's telling me a story in which he wanted my opinion, right? But the problem was that I was so in my own head that I wasn't able to reply because nothing he said came across, right? Like I didn't. Everything he said was a blank, because I was too much in my own head, and I was like, man, I need to get some water. Well, I was thinking to myself, I need to get some water and try to even out a bit, right?
Uh,
So, like as he was talking, I just I stood up and started walking in the door as he was still talking to me, you know. And
do you remember what it
and
is, like what he said to you?
no,
No.
I have no idea what he was talking about.
All you heard was just like a peanuts,
Well,
and you're walking away.
Yeah, exactly. And so I go inside the garage there, and I start going to the main door to get inside, go grab a bottle of water, and as I'm reaching for the doorknob, uh, I blink, right, and then I see the door fly at my face, and then I'm on my back, right? and and then like stuff kind of blacks out again, and then I see my cousin standing over me. He's like, "Holy shit, are you okay, dude?" And I was like, "What just happened?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't know. I think you just like fainted and smacked your face off the door, and you fell over." I was like, "What?" And like right after that, I felt completely fine. Right? It was like I smoked so much that I had to do a quick reboot.
Right.
You know,
Let's
and
just
then I was okay.
a hard reset. I mean,
Yeah, it was
just
just like,
knock the ever loving crap out of yourself.
dude, it was so weird. Like I'd never experienced that before, and it was just so odd. Do you have any other experiences where you've maybe overdone it? You know?
Well, like I said, the rest of this story was like I finally did make it to bed, and I get myself prepared to actually sleep. And as I lay down, I felt like I was laying in between those inflatable walls of a haunted house. And if I just tilted my head just right, it looked like I was just a flat plane, like I was just some cosmic force floating through the air. And I remember hearing the words, "We are one." And I was just like, this is it. I'm gonna die now. This is just the end. Tell everyone I love them. If everyone was real. And I felt like my heart was just coming to a stop. And I was like, this is gonna be it. And I started thinking, I want kids one day. Bum bum. The heart just keeps pumping, and I'm like, yes, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep living this.
Aww, isn't that precious? Oh man, you think you could decide your own
I
fate
will
in that
decide my
moment?
own fate. I will decide the time I pull off that VR helmet, and I just keep continuing going. And then Jane Doe, she rolls over to me. She goes, "Did you get the water?" To which I'm like, "Oh, I need to get water for her. So I get up out of bed and I have to face this NPC who knows that I know. And all I remember is him saying, "Good night, buddy," and just like this really strange way. Like, it felt super strange the way he said it, and I was just like, "Good night." Grab the water out of the cooler and go back to bed. With visions that he was just gonna pop open the tent and be like, "We know." And I was just like, "Oh, God."
Man, it's like a Agent Smith or whatever. Like,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know too much. Now you need to leave.
It was just like, I did not take the right pill, and I cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot continue. They will not let me. So yeah, I've never had a moment like that. I've had moments where I've went a little overzealous before, but I knew I was going to get overzealous. I was alone. I felt safer that way. Because if I were to freak out, nobody could be looking at me weird, and I couldn't start, like, analyzing myself and going, "You know how weird people think you are right now?"
Oh, that's true. That's a total, like, man. That's one thing that I hate. Like, okay, so as far as smoking goes, it's, yeah, like, being with people, I feel, gives me more anxiety than being alone. Because when I'm alone, I'm left to my own devices, zero judgment. I could just be in my own head and nothing else matters, right?
Right.
But when you're with other people, it's almost as if you feel like maybe there's a certain amount of judgment, or people are going to mess with you, or there's too many uncontrollable variables that could go wrong because there's so many more people around, right? And so, like, the anxiety starts to build up and up. But at the same time, doing it with other people around is pretty exciting, you know? I mean, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's hard to choose which one's preferable.
I'm already pretty overcritical. So even when I was last overzealous, I kept hearing that inner monologue, or that inner voice saying, "What are you doing?" And you know how crazy you look right now. If somebody saw you, they know that something's wrong. And I went, I better get sober. Like, and then I'd walk up and down a flight of stairs. And like I'd walk up a flight of stairs, look at my phone, see some numbers like spinning around on my phone, you know, like the little display clock. And I'm like, wow, those are some pretty colors. So then I walk back downstairs and I look back at my phone, and the time has not changed. And the numbers are still spinning. I'm like, well, those are some pretty just some pretty colors. So I go back up the stairs and I stare at my phone again, and then I hear, "What are you doing?" What am I doing? I better go back downstairs.
No, I find whenever you overindulge, it's there's always this thing where I feel, at least, is that this appreciation of nuances, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like these little small things that you become obsessive about, that you don't pay much attention to with a clear state of mind. I don't know what it is. Cause I remember we were playing Beersby, right?
Right.
And for those who don't know what Beersby is, it's a amazing game.
It's my favorite.
If you're ever having a party or a backyard barbecue and everybody's been drinking, look into Beersby as a yard game. It's one of the best games ever invented. But it's what it is you stand, I don't know, maybe what would you say, like 10 yards away from each other, maybe. Either team is on like
Maybe.
about between 5 and 10 yards away from each other, and you have a PVC pipe sticking in the ground in front of you, and you have to put like a beer bottle on top of the PVC pipe, and it's a frisbee game. So you and your teammate have to stand behind your PVC pipe, and you have to throw the frisbee and try to knock their beer bottle off their PVC pipe. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that go into it, like how the point system works, but I'll leave the viewers to do their own homework on it. But I remember, like, I was drinking a lot, and I don't smoke too often anymore. It's a rarity for me these days. And I remember this one time we had been drinking, and they started up some friends started up a circle, and I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll have a go at it. So I smoke a little bit with them, and then we're like, okay, let's play some Beersby. So we go to set up, right? And already I feel like I'm all over the place at this point. I mean, my body, I have little control over. It's trying to make its way to the ground,
Yeah.
and I'm fighting to stay up. And I remember picking up the beer bottle and balancing it on the PVC pipe, which is like, with a clear state of mind, it's an easy thing to do. You just go plop beer bottles on the PVC pipe, and it's no big deal. But I felt like when I got that bottle on top of that PVC pipe and balanced it just perfect in my mind, I thought it was like the greatest feat known to man. I was like, how did I do that? Like,
Wow.
I was like, look at this, like how perfect it's balanced. It was like this weird obsessive thing, and I don't remember who my partner was at the time, but I revealed it to them and my thoughts on the matter, and they just gave me the weirdest look, like, what are you talking about?
It was me, wasn't it?
It might have been.
It might have been.
It might have been. I can't recall.
Look at how balanced that bottle is. What are
I
you going on about, bud? Can we recall of a time that we got to bear witness to somebody else getting overzealous, whether it was drinking or something else that they may have done that took them just over the edge?
Oh, buddy, I can recall like quite a few instances, but it's never been something humorous. It's always been, you know, the panic, right? Where
Right.
they're like I'm gonna have a heart attack or whatever. I'm dying.
Right. No, I just go to myself and say I'm having a heart attack and this is going to be the end. Goodbye, everybody.
No, I always try to be nurturing to people whenever they experience that, where I'll kind of like doctor them up or whatever, and give them some reassurance. I remember one time, I won't name my relation or the name of this person, but it was somebody that doesn't smoke ever, and they decided to smoke with us one time, and they said they wanted a water, and I could see the look in their eyes, like it was. I don't know if I can explain it. It was like these worried eyes, right? And I could just tell. And they went off to get a water, and I was like, "All right, guys, I'll be right back." And so I just followed them in, and they sat down right away. I was like, "Oh boy!" And they were panicking. They're like, "Oh, my heart is beating so fast. I don't know what's going on." And I'm like, it's okay. Just keep drinking this water. I was like, let me take your pulse. And so I remember I didn't even try, dude. But like I put my fingers on the wrist and I started feeling the pulse. And then I looked at my wrist as if I had a watch on, which I did not. And I was like, no, your heart rate's good. It's like you just walked up a flight of stairs. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah,
But
I can tell that all by my wrist hair.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, okay. All right, cool. And I was like, why don't you just, here, I'll give you like 3 bottles of water. Just go lay down in bed and drink those 3 bottles of water and mellow out. And they were like, okay, all right. And they did just that. And they came out like maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes later, and they were completely fine. So, yeah, some people just need some reassurance when they get in that state. But I don't know if I've ever seen like a big freak out, right? Where it's been like you described, your existential experience. I don't know. I've had that myself, but it was always something that I held close, right? Because I didn't want other people to see me, experiencing that, because it's embarrassing, right?
Right.
People are gonna make fun of you for it later, right? But the tale that you told, it's humorous from your point of view,
Right.
But I feel like if other people were to see what you were experiencing, they would have a whole nother tale to tell.
Right. Well, yeah. Everybody has their own emotions and like how they experience or perceive that moment. I mean, some people might not. It might be harder for them to pull back from that alternate reality. You know what I mean?
And like the existential stuff, that stuff is. Oh man, that stuff is no joke, bud.
But
it's stressful.
I did think of something though that really made me go, was he really messing with me? So earlier that night, before things got out of hand, it was the group of you that were all pretending like he had a disability and that we were all playing along and we were calling him Bud.
Yeah.
And when he comes up to me, I go, hey, Bud. And he goes, oh, God. So it's just like, is this really what's going on? Like, we've been playing into this whole facade the whole time. So when I tell him I'm having a crisis, he goes, oh, now's the perfect time to just mess with him. And I was just like, if he was planning that, that's good. That's really good. Devious as hell, but it's good. And I applaud him if that was his intentions. And I think that if he hears this, he'll go, yeah, that was my intentions, just to play along with it.
Yeah, so the whole thing where that comes from was our buddy, he every now and again you'll have this like a core memory, well, not necessarily a core memory, I guess it's like more of a peripheral memory, just pop up in your head from like your childhood or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a moment where he just all of a sudden out of nowhere remembered. He was like, I took the short bus when I was in school. Like I don't, and he's like, what, do I have mental disabilities? And he's like, I better call Merle. And he calls me up. He calls me up to talk about it, and he told me that he just had this random thought, and he's like, dude, I drove the short bus. But I don't remember if he told me like if it was all through school, which I'm sure it wasn't all through school, but it was like at some point during his he was in school. And I was like, oh, buddy. Well, the thing is, we were trying to hide this from you for the longest time, but you're mentally disabled, bud. You know, and I was just joking with him this whole time and trying to play it up, and he was playing along perfectly, and we just made a huge joke about it. And I came up with this entire backstory of like the fact that his mother had hired all of our friend group just to be friends with him so he wouldn't be lonely, and yeah, it was this whole thing that I came up with on the spot, which I am extremely proud of.
Once I found out about it,
once.
once I found out about it, I'm proud of you. I applaud you for coming up with such a good story.
Thank you for joining us on the Merle and Locke podcast. If you enjoyed this banter, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.